Today, we're going to be doing our for and against video with Captain Marvel. Before we do, I got to say thank you, right? The amount of support and the amount of liking and commenting on the Spider-Man video, it was kind of overwhelming. I really didn't expect the video to kind of take off the way it did. So thank you, truly, thank you. It really means a lot. And because of that, I'm going to keep doing this series, and I'm really excited about it. So really want to thank you all for doing it. I've always said, liking and commenting and subscribing, all that stuff means a lot. It really does. It really, really does. So thank you all for that. So today we're going to be doing Captain Marvel. We're going to talk about the argument for her and the argument against her. I have a couple of decks built to kind of like show off some different things. So hopefully that will help, because I know it's like referencing cards. I'm hoping by showing off the deck and like talking a bit about it, that will help you as well. And I can link the decks down below too, so you can check them out. So you have to worry about like trying to copy them or something. But hopefully that will be like, a little helpful and make things a little bit easier for you. So anyway, before we dive into this video and do all of this, trying to be as objective as we can about if she's good or not and what's good and what's bad in her kit, hit that like button, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, leave some comments down below. If you haven't yet, make sure to check out Patreon, my Patreon page down below. I really appreciate it. Even if you create a free account, you get a ton of content, even at the free tier. And if you decide to pay money later, that's cool. But there's a ton of content there. Make sure to check it out. And then finally, if you haven't yet, go over to twitch.tv/G20 Woodworking, hit the follow button, turn on notifications so you know when we go live. And if you have a Prime sub, use that Prime sub. If not on me, somebody else that's a board gamer in the community, right? So anyway, let's go check out some Captain Marvel cards. All right, so Carol Danvers is the alter ego of Captain Marvel. Spoiler alert. So 4 recovery on her side, 6 hand size, 12 hit points. Now, 12 hit points is actually a really good amount in Marvel Champions. Like if you look at the average overall, it's like around 10. There's a few 9s, there's a few 11s. Hulk kind of like breaks the average because he's like an 18 or whatever. I think Drax is 14 if I remember correctly. I can't remember. I haven't played Drax in a little while. But usually they hover around 10, maybe go up to 11. The fact that she's 12 is really strong. It's really good. It's really, really good. So she already starts off with a high amount of life. Now, her commander ability, we need to talk about this. This is bonkers. Action. Choose a player to draw a card, limit once per round. What? Right? On Alter Ego, it's starting off as solo, right? On Alter Ego. You draw your 6, you mulligan, you draw back up to 6, and you just go, okay, I'm going to draw into a 7th card. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. It's really, really, it's a little too strong, but it's absolutely phenomenal. And even if you're playing multiplayer, as long as you're an alter ego and you can trigger this, your teammate can be an alter ego or hero, right? So if you're trying to help someone make a final push and they're like, hey, I'm like 1 resource short, man, draw a card, right? Get you that extra resource, build up. So it's a really strong it's a really strong action. Before we get into her hero side, I want to talk a bit about her being shield and soldier, because she's shield and soldier, she's soldier on the hero side as well. But the shield thing is kind of interesting. So I've referenced shield decks in the past, and I've never really showed it off. And I'm going to show a quick shield deck here. It's hard to run her shield, and you can modify this however you want. It's kind of hard to run her shield because it's alter ego, but it is possible to do it. It's not completely necessary with a lot of things, but anyway, a lot of times you look at allies that are just shield based. Coulson, Agent 13, Monica Chang, Nick Fury, Quake, right? You're looking at different allies that could do it. The events that you're really looking for is Global Logistics and Homeland Intervention. Those are the 2 event cards that you look for, especially Homeland Intervention, because you can exhaust up to 3 shield cards you control. Choose a scheme, remove 2 threat from that scheme for each card exhaust this way. It could be really, really strong. Then you have Field Agent. When a shield ally would take any amount of consequential damage, you exhaust it, you remove a counter from it, and they don't take the consequential damage. Government Liaison will help you play shield cards. Helicarrier is just, reduce the cost of things as actions, but it's also a shield card if you need to exhaust it. Sky Destroyer. For those that don't know, because this is not always known, Sky Destroyer is a support card. After you play a shield card, exhaust Sky Destroyer, deal 2 damage to an enemy. Since it's a response, it can trigger itself, right? So if you play Sky Destroyer, you then can exhaust Sky Destroyer because you played this shield card to exhaust it and deal 2 damage. So Sky Destroyer can trigger itself. I know people always wonder about that. And then you have Surveillance Team with the Snoop counters on it, right? So you can do all of this, and it's really, really nice. Surveillance Team is really good with Monica, by the way. Like, make sure you have those 2 things together because that's a really strong combo. But yeah, having these different shield cards, like if you can't always exhaust, what is it? like Government Liaison to play a shield card, well, you can exhaust both of these for Homeland Intervention, let's say, right? Because it's a shield card you control. So that can help you remove, what is that, 4 threat if you do both those cards, right? Or the Field Agents. If you don't have consequential damage, you don't really care about that. Just exhaust them to get some of the threat off there. So this is what you can do with her if you're having a hard time with threat removal. It's just an idea. So I just wanted to throw that out there. We'll get into soldier. We're not going to get really into soldier stuff, but we'll get into like a little bit because they barely touched on the soldier keyword from what I've noticed. All right, Captain Marvel. Let's talk about the actual hero. Her hand size does drop down to 5, as you would expect. A 2/2/1 stat line, which is great but not good. Like I consider 2/2/2 like God, right? Like Captain America is 2/2/2. Like that is solid stat line. I'll take that every single time. Her being a 2/2/1 is a little weird. It might be not weird, but it's just not like it's not amazing. But solo will do well enough. So we got to talk about her rechannel ability because this is going to be life, right? Moving forward is going to be rechannel. So you spend an energy resource and you heal 1 damage from Captain Marvel, cost arrow, draw 1 card. Okay, game. I see what you're doing here. So one thing I will note is one of the things I like putting in with her a lot is Queen Carrier, just to make sure that we're generating that resource, because you want that energy resource every single time. She's going to want a lot of them in general, and people have built decks around just energy resources, and it's something you absolutely can do. But have a resource generator in there. We're going to give another option in a little bit, but that is an option with things. So anyway, the nice thing with this is because she has a lot of health at 12, and some people put endurance on her to bring her up to 15, which is absolutely a great option as well. You want to take that hit in that first round. Like you need to take a hit in that first round because you need some damage on you so you can keep triggering rechannel, right? You want to trigger this as much as possible. It's not even necessarily about the healing. It's about drawing the card. And because of the cost arrow and the way it works, you have to heal the 1 from Captain Marvel, right? So if you heal nothing, you didn't do everything before the arrow. So thus you can't do the things after the arrow, right? That's how the cost arrow works. You have to do everything before it to do anything after it. So you have to spend the energy resource and heal 1. So if you're at full life, you can't trigger the card. Important note. All right, so let's get into her signature ally. Spider-Woman is a 3-cost ally, 2/2/2 stat line. Each of the attack and thwart have 1 consequential damage. After Spider-Woman enters play, confuse the villain. This was really strong in the beginning because, again, it was a free confuse, but it allowed you to drop down to Carol again at some point, right? And I know a lot of people like dropping down to Alter Ego because they really like just like having a slightly higher hand size, and like I get that. But the fact that you can draw an extra card is bonkers good. So having Spider-Woman allow you to drop down much easier, not having to deal with, a scheming villain and whatever, helps out a lot. Very strong signature ally overall. You can Voltron her if you really wanted to, but I don't think it's that great. I messed around with the idea of doing Sidekick on Spider-Woman, and it's okay, right? It's okay. It's not my favorite thing to do, but it's something that you could do if you really wanted to. Crisis interdication, whatever. Crisis is a 2-cost event. It's a thwart card. Hero action thwart. Remove 2 threat from a scheme. Then if you have the aerial trait, remove 2 threat from a scheme. This is actually a weaker card of hers because 2 for 2 is terrible, right? 2 for 2 for terrible. 2 for 4, and you have to pick a different scheme, right? Because it can't be the same scheme because it says remove 2 threat from a scheme. Then if you have the aerial trait, remove 2 threat from a different scheme. So it doesn't even say like from a scheme, which you could then choose. It has to be different. So it's very limiting. You have to be aerial trait, which she is not inherently. Aerial was always kind of weird early on. Excuse me. So they didn't really like just give her aerial. That was a thing that came around much later. She really, if they were to redo her, she would just be aerial. But that's fine. So yeah, 2 for 2 is really bad, like really, really bad. And then even if you had aerial to do 2 for 4 essentially, but you got to do 2 on one spot, 2 on another spot, it's still not great. And this is why a lot of people will run her Justice, is because her threat ability and removal of threat is not great, right? It's not super strong. So this is one of her weaker links. So again, lean into allies that remove threat, Justice if you want to. Leadership has some good stuff, right? All that fun stuff. All right, Photonic Blast is a 3 for 5 damage card. which is trash, right? Just straight up, it's not good. 3 for 8 is the standard, as we talked about with Spider-Man. This is a lot lower. This is a lot lower. Now, what's interesting is if you pay for this card using an energy resource, which hopefully you are, because you should have a ton of them, you get to draw a card, which is a bit better, right? It's still not an amazing attack, but being able to draw a card, it can lead to bigger and better things, which isn't too bad overall. Still not an amazing card. Now, you can run Depth Focus with this. It's not a Crisis, right? Yeah, no, it's just this. So you can run Depth Focus to lower the cost of this card a little bit because it's superpower, if that's an option that you want to do. I don't think I really run it, if I remember correctly. It doesn't make a ton of sense. But Photonic Blast is like fine, but it's not great, right? It's an okay card. The card draw is nice, but you just paid 3 for this card, so it's an effective cost of 4 out of a 5 hand size. Like, you're probably going to have 1 left. Hopefully you have some resource generators going on, because if you draw a card, it's another like 2 cost card, you ain't playing it, right? 2 costs or higher, you ain't playing it unless you have resource generators. So you kind of have to plan things out, right? So it's a weird card, right? It's a weird card. It's not, like I said, it's not a terrible card, but it's not like a good card, I would say. Now we have energy absorption. This is where things might start turning around a little bit. Energy absorption is a triple energy card, right? It's one of the few cards that have 3 resource icons on it. I should also mention, I didn't do this, and let me go back and do this. Crisis Indication, there is 3 of these cards, right? 3 threat removal cards, which is, it's better than Spider-Man. I'll give it that. It's still not good, but it's better than Spider-Man in my opinion. The attack card, there's 3 of them. All right, energy absorption, there's 2 of them, right? 8 and 9. Really, really strong, especially since we're going to have Photonic Blast. So if you line up energy absorption with Photonic Blast in a 5-card hand, right? So 2 of your cards is Photonic Blast and the triple energy. You play it and you draw another Photonic Blast, right? So you would have the 5, you'd be down to 3 cards, you draw another Photonic Blast, then you could play that again, essentially, right? So like, there is a world where it works out okay, but then you would draw another card most likely, and that's not like great. I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world, but it's not a great thing to do. So anyway, Photonic Blast, what it is. Energy absorption, when you first see it, you might be like, oh, it makes the most sense with that card. It doesn't. And we'll get into what it makes the most sense with in a little bit. But it is an option, right? If the other option doesn't exist, that is a good backup option. Thanks. All right, Alpha Flight Station is a 1-cost support. Its location is also a shield card. So we talked about exhausting shield cards before. This is a card you can just exhaust. So this is a nice thing to have for a shield deck. Exhaust Alpha Flight Station. Choose and discard 1 card from your hand. Draw 1 card, right? So if you have a wasted card in your hand, you can get rid of this. If you are an alter ego, right, Carol, you get to draw 2 cards. This is really strong support for alter ego. Highly recommend. But even if you're on your hero side, you should be dumping cards that are just like you're going to use as resources anyway, because you want to draw a different card because maybe it changes your hand, right? Changes the game up. We talked about with Spider-Woman, being able to flip down is huge. If you can play it where you could do Alpha Flight Station like even twice, like the time you flip down and get things set up and get allies out there and whatever, be able to go through a bunch of your cards and whatever and set up some other stuff that we'll get into in a bit. Absolutely phenomenal. And then, your next turn, you do Carol's ability. So then you start with 6 cards, do Carol's ability to get 7, throw away 1 of those cards, so you're back down to 6, and then do this to draw 2 cards. So you're up to 8 cards in hand. And then, right, you have 8 cards in hand. Let's say you flip up to hero and you have some damage on you. And then you can spend an energy resource from a resource generator and then heal 1. And then you can go from 8 to 9 cards, right? Like, can you see how crazy Captain Marvel gets really, really quickly in the amount of card draw and the amount of cards in hand? Even if her cards are quote unquote weaker, if I'm playing a ton of them, right, it's strong, right? It's strong. And that's a thing that a lot of people I don't think realize. Like, when they see her cards, I've seen this critique, is that they're like, oh, man, this isn't a strong card. And like, Photonic Blast isn't bad. The thing is, it's not great if you're just playing that card. But if you're playing that card, in a second card, in a third card, it doesn't matter how, like, competing it or comparing it to a different hero. If the other hero has like a great card, but you're only playing 1 of them, or I'm playing 3 good cards, 3 good cards is probably going to work out better than 1 great card, generally speaking. Not all the time, but generally speaking. So anyway, really good matchup of things that you could do. Really, really strong, really, really solid. And this is a support you should get out. I'm not a big support player, but this is definitely one you should get out. Then we have her helmet, which is a weird card. So it's a 2-cost upgrade. She gets her +1 defense, which like brings up to a 2/2/2 stat line, which is fine. Now, She gets +2 defense if it's the aerial trait. Okay, like I've never really defended heavily with her because again, I want her taking damage because I'm gonna be healing with her. So it's never really been that big of a thing to me. It's not a thing that I'm like, wow, like amazed by. We still haven't seen how she gets the aerial trait yet. We're about to, but like again, it's really hard to kind of match this up and whatnot. The reason being is because of Cosmic Flight. So Cosmic Flight is how she gets aerial. It's a 2-cost upgrade superpower. She gains aerial trait as long as this card's on the table. So right, this sentence by itself means it's always available. Now, hero interrupt defense. When Captain Marvel would take any damage, discard Cosmic Flight, prevent 3 of that damage. Now, if you discard this card, you lost aerial. So as long as you have one of these cards in, and there's 2 of them in the deck, you would get aerial, which is nice. And it's nice to get both of them out there because you keep aerial, and then if you get hit with like a monster hit that you can't afford, then okay, you can do some stuff with it. So with her having aerial, she gets 1 extra defense, which like I guess she could defend more, which is fine. And then it also allows you to remove 2 threat from a different scheme, which is fine. But like past that, it doesn't do much. Now, I've experimented with trying to lean into like aerial type cards, like running her with Dive Bomb and Yaw and Roll. I think there's some other cards too, if I remember correctly. I forgot. There's another aggression card that's pretty good with like Pitchback. I think Pitchback is another one. Let's look that up really fast. So you do Pitchback, which is aerial one. Right? After your hero attacks, deal 4 damage to enemy. So right there's a few things you can do which aren't terrible. After hero thwarts, which you could do, you remove 3 threat from the scheme if you have aerial. So there is ways to build around aerial, and it's not terrible, but it's not great. Does that make sense? Because there's a shot that you don't even get the aerial trait through like most of the game. It's like, why bother leaning into it? You know what I mean? And then you can't use one of the strongest parts of this card, excuse me, which is preventing the 3 damage. Because if you do that, then you lost aerial, right? You lost all of it. So you need to play 2 of these cards out there, and it costs energy and whatnot, or it costs resources and whatnot. So it gets kind of tough. So I'm not a big fan of this. I'm not a big fan of doing the aerial build. I know some people are, but I'm personally not. All right, then we need to talk about energy channel. This is where the game changes, right? I know we've talked a lot about like her cards like are not that great, not that good, not that strong. This is where the game changes because you get 2 of these in the deck. It's a 0-cost upgrade superpower, max 1 per player. So you can only put 1 energy channel in at a time, but hopefully it's not in there for that long or whatever, and you can just do the other one. Spend X amount of energy resources to put X energy counters here, right? And you're going to learn the maximum that you want to put there is 5. So you can spend as many as you want. So if you get 2 energy counters or energy channels, right? The not energy channel, I'm sorry. The 2 energy absorptions, right? It'd be 6 counters on there, which would be 1 overkill, but let's just say you do it for 5, right? So you can dump 5 on there. So you can do that right away. Then you can also do as a hero action, discard energy channel, deal 2 damage to an enemy to a maximum of 10 for each energy counter here. That's bonkers strong, right? Basically, it's 5 for 10, right? Which I know is like not super efficient, right? If 3 for 8 is the standard, 5 for 10 is not. But there's a lot of times you end up with extra resources, right? Or you can't generate all the resources or whatever. And it just slowly dumps into this. And let me tell you, swinging for 10 is just money, right? It's so huge. It's so important. It's so big for a hero to swing for 10. It's also one of the best feelings in the game. I'm not gonna lie. So the fact is, like, you don't even want to sit around that long because if you get the other energy channel, you might as well clear this out and then get rid of it and then put the next one down, right? That's the beauty of it. And the fact that I can just, if I have a ton of energy resources, I can just dump them all in and then play it right away. I don't need to exhaust this card or wait till the next turn or anything like that. That's one thing we see nowadays is that like you would have to like exhaust the card and then like you have to exhaust and discard this card to deal 2 damage. Right? They would have changed it. They wouldn't let you do it all together like that. That's definitely not a thing they would let you do, in my opinion. So it's nice in that sense. Really, really strong. Really, really good. So yeah, I know we talked a lot about like her cards were like okay and they were fine. This puts her on another planet of good. Her hero ability is one of the best by far. Her alter ego ability is one of the best by far. Her alpha flight station is really good. Energy absorption is absolutely monstrous. It's absolutely huge, especially when it works with energy channel, right? Very, very strong. Her attack and her thwarting are kind of whatever. And Spider-Woman's not bad, right? Not great, but not bad. So one of the decks I like to run with her personally is a leadership deck, and you lean into Avengers basically. Or you can lean into Avengers if you want. I also like playing Kalu because it lets you look at different cards. But yeah, you lean into like an Avenger build deck, basically. You can make the call and do some recursion with it if you wanted to, so you get rapid response, anything to get those allies back in. So like not that they're absorbing damage, but just then everyone's thwarting and dealing damage as well, which is really nice. One of the keys with this is to play Clarity of Purpose. Right? This is a huge card for her. So it's a 1-cost upgrade attached to a friendly character. Exhaust this card to deal 1 damage to the attached character, generate a wild resource. Now the wild resource is huge because you can use the resource for like triggering the different things with that need the energy icon, right? So either Photonic Blast, or you can generate the resource for her energy channel card, right? So you could do it for either one. But the bigger thing is that you get to deal 1 damage to yourself. So if you're doing a build where you have a bunch of allies out, like this Avenger build, and you just want like chump block all day, you can run Clarity of Purpose to take that damage for the first turn, generate that resource, use it for whatever, and then your next round, you already have that 1 damage. Let's say you chump blocked with someone else. So with that 1 damage, then you could do the whole spend an energy resource to heal 1 damage from Captain Marvel. Well, what you could do is trigger this a second time, use the resource that was generated, put it on Captain Marvel to heal yourself. So now you're just triggering this for free, essentially, right? So just to break down the whole process a little bit more, you have 11 life because you took 1 damage last time. So spend an energy resource. Okay, so we're going to do it by taking a damage from Clarity of Purpose and generating a wild resource. We spend that resource to heal 1 damage. So now essentially we just got a free resource from Clarity of Purpose, a 1-cost upgrade. And then we use that resource to heal ourselves back up to 1, and we just draw a card. It is just free card draw. That's crazy, right? That's a crazy way to play. So Clarity of Purpose with her is incredibly strong once you get that cycle going. And then especially if you get allies out there that kind of help you out and just like chump block or whatever, it's really, really nice. Again, I like to run endurance with her. I think it makes a lot of sense. Queen Carrier to get some resource generators out there for the energy resources. Team building, especially if you're doing Avengers deck. All that fun stuff. Avengers Tower, because I'm doing Ally Storm, I want more out there. I like Quinjet. I know a lot of people don't, but I like it for Avengers cards because you can just let it sit in the background and do its thing, and that's really nice. So anyway, really, really strong. The other thing we're going to talk about is Mission Leader really fast because she is a soldier trait on her hero side, Avenger and Soldier. So you can play this one cheaper, right? Because Soldier trait is a 2-cost upgrade. Mission Leader. Sorry. 2-cost upgrade. Reduce the cost to play Mission Leader by 1 if you're a designated soldier trait. After a side scheme is defeated, exhaust Mission Leader, each player draws a card. And I've seen some people run this where they do a lot of side schemes with her. The problem is again, you need kind of like allies to be your thwarter for the side schemes, but you could do some interesting stuff with it if you wanted to with getting let's look at the side schemes really fast so I can remember. So for example, build support, if you want to get your support cards out there, right, that get Clarity of Purpose or rapid response out there or whatever. Do you want superpower trading? Yeah, superpower trading for the identity specific upgrade. I got the supports backwards. Support could be like Alpha Flight Station, my bad. The superpower training upgrade to get Cosmic Flight or Energy Channel, one of them in there, whatever. Specialized training is really good for the specialized cards. If you want to start doing that, there's some really good options there. But also leadership has the whole call for backup thing, which is really nice to just get an ally back in the play is really strong. Or you do rally troops if you want to heal a bunch of allies. I've never really done that though. So this is an option. I've seen people play this. I haven't really done it as much. The drawing is nice, but you have to kind of really lean into that whole side scheme thing. And I really haven't with her because her kit naturally doesn't have a ton of threat removal. Now, again, what's nice is, and we've kind of talked about this a little bit, is when you have crisis indication and you happen to be aerial, which again, we're kind of down like several steps into the process, but you can remove 2 threat from the main scheme and then remove 2 threat from like the side scheme, right? So like that could be nice if you're playing that type of game. Might not be the worst idea in the world, but you just have to prioritize getting her aerial so that this card does more, right? Like it's a whole process, but it's definitely a way to go. All right, so let's start with the against, right? Let's talk about the negative things first with Captain Marvel. So the biggest thing is really that her threat reduction is low on the events. Now it's better than Spider-Man, and she does have 2, which is pretty good. So that is a little bit low. Her attack through Photonic Blast is a little bit low, right? It's not as strong as you would like it to be. Her helmet is kind of whatever with the defense. You really don't want to defend with her though, because you want to take damage to trigger her ability. So that whole thing feels kind of weird. The whole aerial trait being slapped on kind of feels weird and doesn't feel great. It's not bad, but like I feel like it limits her because Ariel got built upon and expanded upon later on in the game cycle, and I feel like there could have been a lot of cool things we could have done with Captain Marvel if she was the aerial trait inherently, but because she's not, we're kind of limited. Again, I think they would have put it on later on, but it's just the world we live in now. So she's got some weak stuff in her kit. I mean, realistically, when you look at it pretty critical, it's kind of weak, right? And I know people will be like, well, Photonic Blast, you can draw a card. It's like, yeah, you have to really get energy absorption to like make it really make sense. But it's some weak cards. It really is. The thing with that is that she is bonkers strong with her abilities, right? Her action ability of being able to draw a card, massive, right? Card draw is one of the biggest things in the game. Absolutely massive. The fact that you could do it on your alter ego side, just straight up do it, absolutely massive. Spider-Woman confuses the villain when she comes into play, right? After she enters play. So if you recur her back in to enter play, absolutely massive that she would confuse the villain. Really, really strong. So it allows you to flip down and do more things. The flight station, really, really strong, especially on alter ego. Like it's a really strong card. Energy absorption, being able to team that up with your energy channels, right? That's crazy. That's crazy strong. She was always good and always strong. And she works in any aspect, right? Justice always made sense. Well, not any aspect. I can't get her to work in protection, and I'm not a great protection player, but I don't think she makes sense in protection, to be completely honest. I think she makes sense in leadership. I think she makes sense in justice, and she can make sense in aggression. I don't play her a ton in aggression, but you can make it work if you really want to. Leadership, I still think she makes the most sense in. But the reason why I bring it that way is that she doesn't feel pigeonholed that like you have to play justice with her, right? Or you have to play protection, right? Again, maybe a better player than me can get protection to work better, but that to me is a huge pro. I like my heroes to be dynamic and fluid in that sense, where I don't want them to just be static of just like they can only be played in one aspect, right? That's boring to me. I don't want that. I want, and even it doesn't matter how amazing they are in the aspect. I want a hero to be able to be played in all the aspects. So I think that's a huge positive for her, an absolutely huge positive. I think Clarity of Purpose is a broken card with her. It makes leadership even more broken with her. Like play leadership, Clarity of Purpose with Captain Marvel and tell me that's not some of the most fun you'll have. Like you're just gonna be drawing cards left and right. It's crazy. So yeah, her cards are a bit weaker, but just like that ability of healing up and drawing cards, I mean, it's still like just to think about is stupidly strong. Energy Channel is still one of the most fun that you can have being played. And past that, like she's got a good amount of health too. She's got a good amount of health. I mean, 12 health is really, really strong and really good. So she actually on paper has like a very weird balance of like pros and cons. Like on paper, it's pros and cons, but it's one of those weird things that like when you actually play her and you do the whole thing, right? You go through the processes and it's like, she's really good. She's really good. And she's really fun too. She's one of the most fun heroes. I'm not a huge like Captain Marvel fan in the comics. Like, I think in the comics she's not bad. I don't like the movie. Terrible movie. Absolutely terrible. But and that's for a variety of reasons, but I think they just like shoehorned it in because they wanted her in Avengers Endgame movie or whatever, or like the one before that. They wanted her in one of the Avengers movies, but they needed to do her prequel movie, and I think they rushed it and messed up a lot of things. But side note. But anyway, with all that being said, I think in this game she thematically hits a lot of notes, which is great. But she's just good. She's just strong, and she's just fun, right? She really is fun. I think that's one of the best parts about her is that to me, she really was one of the first heroes that felt like I could play them in any aspect and have a lot of fun with it. You don't always get that a lot. And especially in the core box, it feels like a few of the heroes are shoehorned into certain things. It didn't really feel like that with her. So anyway, with all that being said, let me know your thoughts. Let me know down in the comments. Do you like her? Do you not like her? What do you like about her? What don't you like about her? Do you have a good protection build? Because I'm always interested in hearing that. Or have a really good aggression one. I have a few that I like in aggression, but I don't really want to show them because I'm still, messing around with it. But justice and leadership, I think she excels at, especially leadership. So, like I said, do me a huge favor, make sure to hit the like button, hit subscribe, leave comments. I want to hear your opinions about Captain Marvel. Like I said, hopefully you like this video series. We'll keep going through the core box and whatnot. And yeah, check out Patreon, Twitch, all that fun stuff. Really appreciate the support. See you all next time.